I the jerk for being on my friend's ex's side and letting him live in our basement? My friend, who is 33 years old and female, and I, who am 32 years old and female, have known each other since high school. She started dating her ex about 6 years ago, and they got engaged 3 years ago. Then the engagement ended a year afterward, and they broke up but had to keep living together. I found out later she had cheated on him with a married coworker multiple times for a few months before he found out. The affair caused the coworker to get divorced. Due to housing issues in the Greater Toronto area, they kept living together and got back together a year after that breakup. The problem was she agreed to leave her workplace because the coworker still worked there. He said she agreed and she said she would try, but she never did. He began getting paranoid she would cheat on him again with the coworker because they were still working in the same place every day and seeing each other. This was at an accounting firm, and she claims she couldn't find a job that paid as well. Finally, the coworker's ex-wife sent a photo of the coworker and my friend together after work having drinks, and my friend's fiancé lost it. They got re-engaged. She and he continued to live together for another week, and he told a bunch of friends that he found himself forgiving her again because she kept saying it was nothing and it was just drinks. He really needed to get out of there if he was going to move on from the relationship. I have a walkout basement suite I rent out, and I didn't have anyone living there as I was redoing it to sell the house. It was a bit of a mess, but I offered it to him if he didn't mind the mess. He took it immediately and offered to pay full rent, but I gave him a deal because he would have to deal with construction. I didn't really want to be renting it out, but I felt sorry for him as he definitely would have left the first time if he had the option and wouldn't have restarted a doomed relationship. My friend was upset once she found out I let him rent my basement and began telling me and other friends I had betrayed her as a friend. I probably shouldn't have gotten involved, but I thought it wasn't a betrayal as I'm just giving him a place to stay until he can find housing. She thinks because I let him stay, I'm on his side and throwing our friendship away. You are not to blame. Your friend has turned toxic. She's emotionally abusing him. It's not about taking sides. It's about helping a friend out of an emotionally damaging and soul-crushing situation. Your friend has no right to criticize you for getting involved, given what she was doing. Am I the jerk for keeping lights on at night while working in a shared room? So, for the past 15 days, I, a 20-year-old female, have been living in a shared hostel room in a new city because I have some internship work here. I am here for the whole month of August and need to stay 2 more weeks. The roommate I have here is a college student who has been living in the room alone for the past 2 years since, incidentally, nobody else rented the other bed. I knew that someone who was living alone would have a tough time adjusting, and I only had to stay a month, so I did not really mind her quirks, which bothered me. She always wakes up at 6 a.m., turns on the lights, takes showers with music, and is extremely loud while talking on the phone in the morning. It disturbs my sleep, but I have an eye mask and earplugs, so I managed since I did not feel it was worth getting into it with someone I have to stay with only for a month. I have been swamped with work for the past few days, meaning that I have had to work at night. There is no common space to work in outside the room, so I have been working in the room at night with the lights off so my roommate can sleep. I do not mind working in the dark, even though I have been told it is bad and would strain my eyes, but I accommodate if I am sharing. Today, I had a lot of work and slept really late. In the morning, she wakes up and opens all the lights and talks loudly. I asked her for some consideration to turn the lights off when she leaves, but she did not do that. When she comes back, she takes all the stuff from the shared table and chair and keeps it on my bed while I am in the washroom. I asked her why, and she said she needs to work. It is fine, I let it go since I have to stay for only 2 more weeks. She turns on all the lights again. I am extremely tired and sleepy since I slept late for work and ask if I can turn off the lights for today, please. She said no because she is working. I managed to sleep through that, although it was not a good sleep because she had to call her mother during her study time and talk loudly. Even though I let go of everything, it still made me upset. So tonight I said I was working and would keep the lights on. She said no, and started saying that she could not sleep without the lights off. I told her that she always turns the lights on when I am sleeping, and I always endure it. Today I also slept through it, so she should manage too. She tried to pester me many times, but I said no. I know it is petty, especially when I do not mind working in the dark, but I felt I was being stepped on too much and needed to do something to balance it. Does that make sense? I do not know. But am I the jerk? You have done nothing wrong. She's being obnoxious, and you've been way too lenient about it. It's clear she's hoping you'll leave so she can have the room to herself. You're paying your share of the rent, so you're entitled to use the room as you wish. It might be worth teaching her a lesson by doing the same thing she does to you, so she realizes how much you've adjusted. Am I the jerk for insulting my family and refusing to be in the wedding? I need to give some background for any of this to make sense, so I'm going to briefly explain how my siblings and I are all related. Didonin and Momon had 2 sons in the 1980s, Jack, who is 43 years old, and Donnie, who is 40 years old. And Donnie, who is 40 years old. In the 1990s, my parents, Mom 2 and Dad 2, had my sister Janice, who is 30 years old. They later had my brother Mark, who is 25 years old, and me, who is 21 years old. Around the time I was born, Donnie had a daughter, Susan, who was 21 years old. A few years later, my mom and Donnie's dad, mom to and Dodonin, got together and had my half-sister Emily, who is 17 years old. Donnie's dad is significantly older than my mom. In 2021, my siblings and I met Donnie since he occasionally visited Emily as she was growing up. We were close to Emily as she is our half-sister. We also met his daughter Susan. Since then we all had, I thought, a strictly familial relationship. We never met Jack as he apparently lives in another country and does not keep in touch with anyone. Earlier this year, Janice revealed that she and Donnie were engaged. Apparently they have been dating discreetly since after we met him and Susan. I figured we were not blood related, so I guess it's none of my business. But it did not end there. Yesterday Janice invited me over to discuss something important. When I got there, Donnie, Mark, and Susan were also present. Janice sat me down and told me that Mark and Susan were engaged. They wanted to tell me in person with everyone there because they were worried I would not handle it well, like how I initially did not handle Janice and Donnie's engagement well. After confirming that it was not a joke, I went off on them. I told Janice that it was wrong she was letting her brother marry her stepdaughter, that it must be illegal, or at least should be. I told her that as if it's bad enough she wants to model our family tree after Greek mythology, but then Slim Hades over here wants to marry his niece. For context, Janice is a massive Greek mythology nerd and Mark has bleach blonde hair and dresses like a middle schooler who just discovered rap for the first time. Susan was crying at this point and said she wanted to ask me to be a bridesmaid. I told her there was no way I would even show my face at either of their weddings and told her to think about how her future kids will feel when, during those family tree assignments kids get in class, they have to present a wreath. Janice called me a lot of words, kicked me out, and Susan was still crying. Am I the antagonist for my reaction to this mess? TLD Octor siblings want to keep it in the family, so I refused to go to their weddings and insulted them. In my opinion, you have done nothing wrong here. It's not technically incest, but holy hell, you've got just about every family porn option going on here. I feel sorry for any future kids. And Emily. Yeah, my brother is marrying my sister, and my other brother is marrying my niece. This kid is definitely going to have to draw a wreath for the family tree. Your other option, OP, is to date Jack and go ahead and close out the circle. Lol. Am I the jerk for calling my spouse a liar? I, a 27-year-old female, got married to my husband, a 32-year-old male, 3 years ago. He has a 9-year-old daughter with his ex-wife, Aita. They have a troubled relationship, often blaming and belittling each other. In her defense, the ex-wife cares deeply for Anna, is very kind to me, and both of them make sure Anna never sees or hears them fight. I am working hard on building a relationship with Anna. I do not claim a motherly status yet, but we are comfortable with each other, and I do my best to spend quality time with her. My husband and I both work full-time. We get her ready for school together and take turns picking her up from school. All this to say I spend time with her and have a strong idea of her personality. Something that has always bothered me about my husband's relationship with Anna is he exaggerates her intelligence in anecdotes. He often attributes funny, interesting, or precocious comments to her that she never actually said. She is a smart, kind child, and I do not think we need to lie about her capabilities. I could tell plenty of true anecdotes of her intelligence. Recently, I've noticed that when Anna overhears these stories, she looks confused and sometimes protests that she didn't really say that, but everyone laughs it off. I've privately expressed to my husband that I don't think he should be making up stories about her, but he always acts confused or insists that she did say or do something that is not in keeping with her development. The ex-wife still attends my husband's family get-togethers. During a recent barbecue, my husband began to tell a story about Anna making a funny comment in the Wendy's drive-thru the day before. Even setting aside that Anna would not know most of the words he claimed she used, they weren't at Wendy's yesterday. I dropped her off, picked her up from school, and cooked and served her dinner before we both put her to bed. I said to my husband that it didn't happen, at a normal speaking tone in a group where everyone heard the anecdote. The ex-wife accused me of suggesting that Anna was stupid. My husband backed her up, and everyone seemed quite miffed at me. I didn't say anything more, but my husband brought it up once more when we were home. He said I needed to stop calling him a liar, and especially stop giving his ex-wife ammunition to mock him, which doesn't even make sense since she was on his side. I said, "You didn't go to Wendy's yesterday," and he said, "Yeah, but she could have said that." I think he just wants to present the best version of his daughter to the world, even if it is a false version of who she is. Am I the wrong one for calling him a liar and I guess giving his ex-wife ammunition? Edited to add, please stop commenting to call my husband abusive. He is not abusive. He is not lying in any other way. Our finances are fine. He is not cheating on me. I know why his ex-wife and he broke up, and it is not because he lied. I agree it is a problem that he is lying about this, and I will take it more seriously, but he is not abusive, and you all need to stop accusing him of abusing me. You haven't done anything wrong. His behavior is weird, and it might not be as harmless as it seems. He's creating fabricated stories about his daughter, and it's something that can mess up a child in the long run. Small white lies can lead to bigger problems, so make sure to talk to him about it. If he doesn't stop, consider involving his ex-wife since it concerns their kid. Am I the jerk for not apologizing to my stepsister? About 4 years ago, my partner and I had a tough time, ending with the discovery that we couldn't have children naturally. Towards the end of this period, I asked my partner to marry me, which was an incredible highlight in a very tough period. About a month later, we went on a week-long trip with my father and step-family. On the first evening, my partner and I announced that we were getting married. About a minute later, my stepsister turned towards us and said that she was pregnant. We congratulated her on the news, but I already noticed my partner getting flustered. A bit later, she walked to the bathroom, and my father's wife followed to console her. She said her daughter was a bit insensitive and should have let us celebrate. The rest of the evening, my partner was quite visibly emotional. Later, we talked about how we couldn't blame her for being insensitive about our situation since nobody knew it yet. Fast forward to 2024. Everyone now knows we can't have children. We've realized that not having children comes with a lot of freedom, so the sadness is gone. We visited my father, and that evening his wife mostly ignored us. It turns out she's unhappy with us because of the tensions between us and the daughter. We weren't aware of tensions. We just don't like her much and therefore don't interact with her a lot. We were then told that we don't like her daughter and grandchild because we can't have children ourselves and that we are still angry about 4 years earlier. My father then said that we could have gone to my stepsister the day after to explain why we didn't seem happy after her pregnancy announcement. I said I thought it was a crazy thing to ask at a point we weren't even ready to tell any people, let alone her. Then my father said that we could have gone to her a year later to explain what happened the year before. Ignoring that due to COVID, we hardly even saw each other that year. I told him that we'd already gotten over it and weren't even aware that this was an issue, so we didn't even think to do this. Finally, he asked us to sit down with my stepsister and pretty much apologize for making her feel bad. I told him that she never even approached us to ask what was going on. She also never approached us to tell us she was still feeling bad because of that moment. Finally, I refused to apologize for being emotional since people are allowed to be emotional without having to apologize. I then told my father and his wife to leave our house and that I would talk to my father about this some other time. I later told my father that we will not be joining any family gatherings until all of this stuff has been discussed in a way that makes us feel safe again around them. Should we have paid more attention to the feelings of my stepsister and have apologized to her, or at least explained why we responded emotionally? Am I the antagonist for not wanting to go on trips with the step family anymore and placing our own feelings above the family? You are not the one at fault. It's been 4 years, and the stepsister should really get over herself. She turned your marriage announcement into a drama fest and is now doing it again regarding your situation with kids. It's all about her without any consideration for you and your wife. You did the right thing by not engaging with this nonsense. Am I the jerk for following my niece and leaving my brother's house after she unloaded on my brother and sister-in-law? This is something that happened only a few days ago. My niece Ciara, who is 24 years old and female, had a baby 2.5 weeks ago. She and her partner decided they did not want anyone at the hospital and would handle visits when things settled a bit. Her father and stepmother offered to host any family on her paternal side she wanted to have meet the baby, and she agreed, and I was invited. During the visit, my brother was holding Ciara's baby and he told my sister-in-law, who is the step-grandmother, that their first grandchild looks just like her and that Ciara's child was a mini version of her. Ciara told her father not to say that. He told her it was true, and she should be proud. My sister-in-law asked her why that offends her so much. After all, she is a grandmother and these things can happen. Ciara said she is a stepmother and a step-grandmother. She is not biologically related to her or her child, and both of them need to accept that and stop trying to force this idea that they, Ciara, her child, but also Ciara's full siblings, look like my sister-in-law. My brother told her to calm down and stop acting hormonal and like there is something wrong with finding familiar features in family. Ciara took her baby from my brother and passed the baby to her partner. Then she told them that my sister-in-law is not her real family, is not her real mother, and is not who she looks like. She told them she has always looked just like her mother, and so does her baby. She told them she had warned them they were going to stop acting like my sister-in-law was her actual mother and the actual grandmother, or she would walk. And she did. She told them she was done. I followed Ciara out, which angered my brother and sister-in-law. I soothed Ciara and reassured her that we have not all forgotten her mother. Once I got home, I realized the anger my brother and sister-in-law held toward me for leaving too, because I had several texts. They told me I had defended Ciara being unreasonably nasty to them, and especially to my sister-in-law, and I should have stayed to support them instead of Ciara. My brother was widowed young. Ciara was the oldest at 7 years old. Her siblings were 4 years old and 2 years old. My brother remarried 18 months after his first wife died. He had known my sister-in-law 6 months at the time. It was very fast for Ciara, but the marriage also started because my brother wanted the kids to have a mother, which is something Ciara never liked, and she has never cared for my sister-in-law but learned to tolerate her over time. My brother and sister-in-law do like to talk as though my sister-in-law birthed the 3 original kids. My brother and sister-in-law will say the kids look just like my sister-in-law when all 3 favor their mother heavily, or they will claim they have saved for the kids since birth. They also describe Ciara as their firstborn child. Comments of that nature are very common from them. Am I the asshole? You are not the jerk. Your brother and sister-in-law are overstepping and being grossly insensitive to Sierra's feelings, especially during such a difficult time for her. Telling her not to act hormonal is just plain cruel and dismissive of her legitimate pain and frustration. They should be thanking you for ensuring she was okay and doing the bare minimum for a child they clearly don't care about beyond using her as a prop for their delusions about this family unit. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.